Hello, everybody, and welcome. So happy to have you here today. And we are live from Salida, Colorado. And I have one of my most important top team members here with me today. And I'm super excited. Rita Esther. Hey, Rita.
Hey, hey,
And Rita is coming to you live from Louisiana,
Louisiana.
really just outside of New Orleans, right?
Yeah, I'm in Baton Rouge, about an hour away.
Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So we are spanning the country today. Anyway, we've got a really great topic here for you today. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is Leslie Vitel, and I'm a business coach and mentor for health professionals. And we have Rita Esther here with us today. Rita's going to do a quick intro in just a moment. But before we do that, I want to give you just a little bit of insight in terms of what we're going to be talking about today. Really excited about this topic. We are going to be talking about hiring and training your virtual team. And this is a topic that I get so many questions around how to go about doing this. So I have a team of my own. Actually, gosh, four people on my team, counting Rita. And so a lot of moving parts. So I'm really excited to be able to share some of the insights in terms of how to go about doing that, and specifically how to hire, when to hire, and how to get a return on your investment. So those are the main things that we're going to touch on today. And so why don't Rita, why don't you give us a quick intro? Tell us a little bit about your story and how you ended up doing the work that you're doing today.
Sure. I've always been kind of a nerd. When you're kids, like when you're a little kid, you play like doctors or police or whatever. I had an old mechanical typewriter and copy paper, and I would like type stuff up and make my little booklets. I would play Office. So that,
I
I'm
love that.
5. And so I learned how to create websites as a hobby back in the 90s just because I thought it was fun. And I also learned Photoshop as a hobby. So I never went to school for graphic design or computer science or anything like that. I got a job right after me and my ex-husband divorced when I was 25. Got a job working in a sales position. I'd never done sales, and I ended up just really, really loving the company. I worked there for 12 years. I worked my way all the way up from a salesperson to a training manager to the marketing director and then the general manager. So I learned all these facets of business and marketing and sales and people skills. And eventually I decided that I wanted to venture out on my own. And that's when I started my online business. So I was able to transfer a lot of the skills that I learned in my brick and mortar, job to the online world as far as marketing and funnels and strategy and all that sort of thing. But I still didn't know all the technology. But because I do love everything tech, I just took to it like a duck to water. That was in 2015. And now that's what I do full time since 2015, and I just love it.
Awesome. Yeah, it looks like someone from our audience can relate. Someone is saying, I used to play that too, wanted to own
Nice.
a, yeah, or be a post office manager. That's so awesome. That's great. I love that. Yeah, I was this kind of the science nerd. I was the one, yeah, yeah. Like I remember my favorite Christmas present of all times was a microscope and a frog to dissect. So,
Nice.
so yeah. Oh, it's funny how, yeah, it's just kind of funny when you think about how you were as a kid and like, pretty much like that is in a lot of ways how you are now. So
Mhm.
kind of interesting. So anyway, all right. So let's jump in because again, we have a great topic. We're gonna get for those of you that are just now joining us, we are talking about hiring and training your virtual team, and specifically how to hire, when to hire, and how to get a return on your investment, which is so key. I think it's so important to lay this out because what I see in the work that I do is, there's a lot of fear and trepidation around, outsourcing your work, right? And I think a lot of it has to do with, just not knowing where to start, not knowing the sources, right? Like where to go to
Hmm.
find a good VA team, and being fearful about spending the money, right? And the thing I would share with you on that note is, well, I have a lot to say about that, but really in a nutshell, it will set you free and you don't have to spend a whole bunch of money to get started, right? So, with that little backdrop being said, Rita, so let's jump into our conversation today. So, in your opinion, how do you know when is it ready? When is a person ready? How do they know when it's time to hire help?
Sure. So, in my opinion, if you're starting a business, even before you think you're ready, you're ready. Okay. It's much easier to start small than to get so overwhelmed and you're ready to hire somebody. Then you think you're ready to hire somebody, and you just don't even have the bandwidth to train anyone. You don't have the mental space. Like you're like, it'll just be faster if I do it myself. Whenever you've gotten to
Mm-hmm.
that point, then you've gone too far. So, in my opinion, the earlier you can, the better. Even if this is one of the common misconceptions that I've seen is people think that if you're hiring somebody, you have to hire them for 40 hours a week. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not the case. You can hire somebody for as little as 3 hours a week, even less. I mean, whatever you need, there is someone there. There's someone out there who can meet you where you are and who is happy to just do those 3 hours of work a week. So don't think that you have to hire somebody for 20 hours, even if you let's just say for 3 hours a week and you're paying say $20 an hour, great. Start there, work your way up.
I love that. Yeah, it really is kind of a misnomer out there in terms of, that fear around, well, how many hours am I going to have to, if I get someone, are they going to require, this full-time position? And I would say I completely agree with Rita. Absolutely not. And actually, in my experience, different VAs work differently.
Mhm.
Some will actually want a minimum, right? Like a minimum number of hours. Some are pretty open, right? They can be pretty flexible and they can grow with your business. So, I mean, if you're first starting out, I would probably look for someone, that is a little bit more on the flexible side and is able to grow with you. So I know, when I first started that's the approach that I took. And it worked out really well.
I agree
So
100%. There's going to be somebody there, wherever you are in your business, there is a virtual assistant or a graphic designer or an ads person, whatever it is that you're looking to hire for. There's somebody who is at that same level as
yeah,
you are. So that's what you want to look for.
right. Absolutely. And where, like, let me ask you this, Rita, where would you even start to look for a VA?
Sure. That's
That's probably one of the
VAs,
most common
like,
questions, right?
yes. And there are Facebook groups that are
Mhm.
full of VAs. So look for things like boss mom, girl boss, entrepreneurs for women. What you want to avoid is the ones that cater to offshore or out of the country virtual assistants. Not that
Mhm.
you can't find quality, let me just say. You
Mhm.
can't, it isn't that you can't find quality people who live in other countries. It's just that those groups seem to attract the worst of the worst. But we're going to find the
Mm.
best of the best when it comes to
Mhm.
finding a virtual team. Facebook groups, Boss Moms is one.
Yeah.
Um, there's so many that are dedicated to service providers. And let
Mhm.
me also clarify that whenever you guys that are hiring us say virtual assistant, most of us don't consider ourselves a virtual assistant. I consider myself a graphic
Interesting.
designer. I consider myself a web page designer. I can do video editing. So I wouldn't necessarily be in virtual assistant groups so much as freelancing groups or work from home groups or laptop lifestyle groups. That's where you're going to find your better people.
Oh, that's so interesting. Okay. Love that. That's a great tip. That you don't even really, and I get that. Like, I would not, knowing the work that you do, I would never categorize you as a VA.
But a lot of people,
Um,
that's what that's what they call me. And I don't care what you call me as long as you pay the invoice. But what I'm saying is
right?
that when you're looking for the groups where these people hang out, it may not
Mhm.
say virtual assistant unless you're
Right.
strictly looking for admin work, someone to check your email, file your stuff, send,
Mhm.
invoices out. If you're looking for anything more than that, you're probably not going to find it in a virtual assistant group.
Mhm. What do you think about some of these groups like Upwork and online services such as those?
Sure. So from our point of view, the service provider's point of view, those are the place that you go whenever you can't find anybody
Mm.
better. That's
Mm.
whenever you're grasping for straw. So if you're hiring
Okay.
off of Upwork, you're also, and same with Fiverr, you're usually either hiring out of the country people, which again isn't terrible, but just know
Mhm.
that, or you're hiring people who they're not very good. So they're relying
Okay.
on Upwork's marketing, they're relying on Upwork's algorithms. Whereas the people who are in these Facebook, that are really, I recommend Facebook groups. I'm not saying that you can't find good people. I'm just saying that there's less of them. There's more. And from the service provider's point of view, Upwork requires a lot of that takes a big chunk of our cash.
Mhm.
You don't get as good clients. The whole interaction is different. Where I like to, and the people that I or in my circle of online friends, we really care about our clients' businesses. Like it isn't just a paycheck. It isn't just an invoice. I will be on my couch at midnight and realize like, oh my God, I forgot something about Leslie. And I'll text Abby like, hey, Abby, da, da, da,
Yeah.
da. Like it isn't from, 9 to 4, I work on Leslie stuff. If you want to hire that kind of person, then go to Upwork. But if you want to find someone who's going to be an integral part of your team, who cares about your business, go to the Facebook groups.
I could not agree more. 100%. Like Rita, like way on it, way above and beyond. I mean, absolutely they're in those times when things are really tight, like we have tight deadlines. Just like I cannot emphasize that enough, guys. If you're looking for someone that really cares, it honestly, probably what I would do is look for a referral. I mean, actually, that's how I found you, Rita,
Yeah.
right?
The person who does your Facebook ads
Yeah,
referred me to you.
Kathy.
And that's
Yeah.
been what,
So
2 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe?
yeah, I think so. At least two, right?
hmm
Yeah. So I mean, that's how I always went about finding my VAs is really through word of mouth and just asking people like, who do you use? And do you mind sharing that name with me?
Yes.
And even if they themselves don't have space for you, sometimes they can recommend, a really good person that can take you on. So I think
hmm
that's another really good route to take when you're just trying to find the right person. So another really common question is, what do you pay? Right? What do you pay an assistant? I know that's
Yes.
a loaded question, and there's probably like a huge span there, right?
There is.
Depending on their skill sets.
I want people to understand that we are just as afraid, we are just as nervous about getting scammed as you are, okay? Because there are clients out there who are like, "Oh, I need, 3 blog posts and this, that, and the other, and I want you to do this as a test project, and I won't pay you till it's done." And then when you're a brand new
Mhm.
virtual assistant or brand new whatever, you're like, "Oh, I'm so excited." And you do the work, and then they ghost you. Okay, so I want you to understand like
Mhm.
this happens both ways. So what I recommend is it really just depends on each person's situation. So I'm in Louisiana where the cost of living is totally different than someone who lives in say San Francisco. If I lived in San Francisco, my rates would be twice or 3 times what it is.
Mhm.
So pay a fair amount for,
Mhm.
keep in mind their situation. Now I do personally also have my own team, and I have a girl that works with me. She's lovely. She's in the Philippines. She's only getting 5 an hour. But for where
Mhm.
she lives, that's good money, like she was asking for 3. So like she's
Right.
making really good money for where she lives. So it really
Mhm.
just depends. And if you're hiring American, understand that you do get what you pay for.
Mhm.
And as much as I love my assistant from the Philippines, there is no replacing English as a first language
No,
or
I totally agree.
the nuances of of American culture. So
Mhm.
if you're hiring somebody, let's just say a good entry level virtual assistant, designer, web designer, any of them, a good entry level rate is probably around $25 to $35 for a US based person. And if this
Mhm.
person can save you, let's just say you're paying them for 5 hours a week, and that 5 hours, you can then pay attention to your clients, your people, and you're billing at maybe $100 an hour or $200 an hour, you're making money. So
Right.
that's how I would look at it is how much is this going to free up my time and free up my bandwidth to focus on my money making activities when I can have someone else check my emails, whenever I can have someone else, send my newsletter broadcasts or create my blog post or come up with social media posts or design the images or whatever it is. How much is it worth to you for your time, your billable time to have someone else do those things?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And guys, this is so incredibly important because what I tend to see is I see, practitioners out there, hunkering down, spending so much time, what I always say, hiding behind their computers and doing like just doing these tasks, which is in of itself isn't a problem. The problem comes into play when they don't have time to do the things they should be doing, right?
Hmm.
Like they're just kind of
Yes.
tied
Yeah,
from
don't pro
doing
it's just procrastinating, but like
right.
busy work.
It is, and honestly, what I tend to see is people kind of fooling themselves, right? Like
Mhm.
telling themselves, "Oh my God, I'm so busy. I did 25 graphics, this and that and the other thing, or whatever else you're doing that is taking you a lot of time on your computer." But you're doing that instead of getting out there and networking, right? Getting out there and booking talks, getting out there and talking to clients, looking for interviews, for podcasts, for YouTube. Guys,
Or
if
going
you
live on
are
your page.
right,
And if
exactly.
let's just say that Leslie, that you needed 20 social media graphics. How long
Hmm.
would that take you to create those 20 versus how long will it take me to create those 20? So
Oh,
even if you're like, well, I have to get this done, that would take you 5 hours. That would like literally
easy.
take me
And
45 minutes.
they wouldn't look very good. So
Right.
I'd end up really frustrated. Yeah. They'd look terrible, and I would have just be beating my head against a wall all day trying to get it done, and that makes no sense. So, and the thing is you only have so much time, and you only have so much bandwidth, right? So that's really, I think, one of the big takeaways here, guys, is that if this is you, if you are spending lots and lots of time doing these things that maybe you're just not super fast at doing, it's not really in your wheelhouse, but you're just telling yourself like, gosh, I need to do this, I need to save money, and you're not, as a result, you're not getting out there, you're not going live, you're not doing, talking to people, you're not booking, like all those things that really drive the business, then there's an imbalance for sure. So I would
And
highly
another
recommend,
aspect
yeah.
of that as well is sometimes there are things that we know we should do in our business, but for whatever
Mhm.
reason, we have these mental blocks. We all do. And for me
Mhm.
personally, emailing my list is something I just don't like to do. And
Yes.
I'll email everybody else's list. Like Leslie says, "Hey, Rita, will you write an email?" Pfft,
Yeah.
here you go. Here's 5 of them.
Yeah.
But to do it for
Yeah.
myself, not so much. But whenever you hire
100%.
somebody to work around your blocks, so let's just say you don't like emailing your list or you don't like
Yeah.
creating blog posts, hire somebody else to do it for you. And that way you just
Mhm.
work around those mental blocks.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, where do you think someone should start in terms of, because a lot of time, here's what I see. Give me a yes in the chat if you can relate. You feel like you can do it better. You feel like, so you're reluctant to hire someone to take over those tasks. So you feel like you can do it better, or you just don't want to let it go, right? Like there's a little bit of control there where you just don't feel comfortable letting it go. So how would you say, how can people get around this?
Start
right?
with the thing that you hate to do the most. Like, seriously, pay
Yeah.
attention to what do you avoid. And everybody's different. For me, it was my inbox. When I hired my girl, she's my girl. When I hired her, I had 20,000 emails,
Mm.
a lot,
Wow.
because I just avoid my inbox because I have, because of the nature of my business, I get texts, I get WhatsApp, I get Slack messages, I get Facebook. Like, I was over it. So that was the very first thing because I avoided it. So that's one of those things where I'm not having to give up control because I'm not doing anything with it anyway. And
Mhm.
it's something that really needed to be done. So that's where we started. And now my inbox is under control. It is, there's actually like categories where it's like, Rita, look at this first, or like whatever, like
That's so good.
save this to next week so I don't even have to look at it. So that's where I would recommend, and whatever that is for you, whether it's your social media, whether it's your
Yeah.
blog post, whatever it is, billing. A lot of people have some mindset blocks around billing or sending invoices or chasing money, basically your payables,
Mhm.
accounts payables. Hire someone to do that for you. And then it's not you, it's your team who, sends those nasty emails for you. So whatever it is that you avoid, hire for that first. That's what I would
Yeah.
recommend. And
I think
then
that's a really great idea.
anything, awesome. Anything that is I hate to say this because I feel like I'm whatever, like low level. Like, there are things that just don't make you money. It does not make any sense for me to check my own email whenever I could be creating the landing page that Leslie needs for this launch coming up. Like, what makes more sense? Me doing activities
Right.
that make me money, or me doing activity that's just busy work. So the same thing for yourself. What is the low level, easy to train for, easy to understand thing for you to hand off for someone else? Do that next. So first, whatever it is
Mhm.
you're avoiding, it doesn't matter if it's your taxes. There is somebody who can do it for you, and that even goes to, in my opinion, like your housework. Like, hire someone to come clean your house or do your meals, whatever. Because is it? I mean, I have somebody that comes over every other Wednesday, and she's only here for an hour or so, but that hour is like I would put off what she does. It's tubs, toilets, dusting, wipe everything down. My tubs and toilets would get nasty if it weren't for her coming. And it's just one less thing on my mind, and that
Mhm.
hour is better spent doing things that make me money. So that'd be my
Absolutely.
advice.
Yeah, I love that. That's such good advice. So, what about so another question that I often hear is, do I hire one person or do I hire a team of people? I mean, it would be great if we could find that magical person that knows how to do everything, right? Kind of that, I don't know.
Hmm.
Sometimes that, I mean, there are people like that out there, but they're not always the easiest to find. And on the
And
other hand, if you hire
they're
like
never
a
gonna
whole
be
bunch of
good.
people, right, right, because they don't really have like an expertise.
Right.
So, but sometimes I think it can be a little intimidating, the thought of hiring multiple people to do different tasks in your business. So, what would you
Sure.
say about that?
Um, yeah, I really do recommend hiring like your assistant first. Somebody to check your email, keep
Mhm.
you on track, sort of thing. Then, whenever you are ready to hire either an agency, which is going to be multiple people, or multiple people for your own team, I would have everybody answer to that person. So, for example,
Mm,
Leslie has many people on her team, but she doesn't talk to them all the time. Me and Abby do. So, Leslie talks to me and Abby, I would assume the most, and we just kind of deal with everybody else for her. So, she doesn't have to
mhm,
deal with it, it's just taken care of. Um, because you don't want managing your team to be a full-time job, and you don't need a business manager to manage it. So you can literally meet with your person, your virtual assistant, and say, hey, I need a landing page for this, I need a new PDF for this, I need social media posts coming up for the next quarter, blah blah blah. Can you make sure that all the people know what they need to do? And she can take care, or she or he can take care of it for you. Another
mhm,
option is to hire an agency. There are agencies that specialize in small businesses. And again, I do recommend finding Facebook groups for looking for those agencies. In general, there are people like myself who just have a small team of 5 or 6 people. And so you're not paying, New York agency, advertising agency prices. So we're
Right.
talking still under $100 an hour, and you get the full spectrum of everything. And I really honestly believe that most people can do just fine with a virtual assistant, a designer, a video person, and a social media person. And a lot of
Mm.
times, your virtual assistant will also be your social media person.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yes, Karen.
Completely agree with
Your
that.
main VA can definitely be like your office manager. Like that is you don't want it to be another whole another thing. I meet with my assistant every morning at 9 o'clock from 9 to 9:15 every
Mm.
morning, and I say, "This is what's on my plate. This is what I have for you. This is what needs to be done." Blah blah blah, and she will check in with me throughout the day. Like, "Hey, here's this, here's that." I don't have to check my inbox. She'll check in with me for things that I need to know. My inbox is empty, things are sorted out. I just need to make sure that I get her messages. That's it. So I don't have to, So if Leslie sends me an email, I was like, blah, 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 she'll text me with like a quick rundown. We need this, this, this.
So awesome. Yeah. Now, what do you think about an OBM,
That's
online
almost
business
what,
manager?
right? That's almost what your virtual assistant, it's going to take a few months. Once you work together for a long time,
Mhm.
a long time, like 90 days, that's pretty much what she's going to turn into. Most of the people in the virtual
And guys,
assistant space.
oh, I
Okay.
was going to just jump in real quick. Just so you know, guys, an OBM, online business manager, just FYI.
And a lot of the
Go
people in the
ahead. Sorry,
virtual
didn't.
assistant space, that is what they would love to do. But they're just like you
Mm,
guys face a little bit of imposter syndrome. They're afraid to say, I'm
mm,
an online business manager. Men are quick to say,
mm.
oh, I'm an advertising agency. I can do this.
Right.
But women, we're more like, well, I know how to do all this stuff, but I'm telling you, if
Yeah.
you meet a person and you just click with them and you're like, God, they would be great for this, let them just be
Mhm.
transparent. Say, hey, what I would really like for this to evolve into is for you to be like an online business manager. We're going to start with, you doing virtual assistant tasks. And I promise you, they might get a little freaked out, be like, oh my gosh, can I really do it? They can, but they want it just as bad as you want it. Like it's y'all both want the same thing, and they're scared.
Right.
You're scared. It's just part of the human experience to
Yeah.
face that imposter syndrome. But most of them that I know in my online entrepreneur circles, that's what they're looking for. That they would just love to have one person to focus on and their energy not be scattered so much. And online
Mhm.
business manager, you're more looking at 20 hours a week more than say 5,
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
give you an idea.
And there are people that actually have like an OBM certification as well,
Hmm. Yeah, and
right?
there are people
So,
who do specialize in that, but
right.
this is just my opinion. I feel like the people who specialize in that, they're juggling so many people. Like they're
Mhm.
juggling. You're not the only client.
Well,
Whereas that
yeah,
virtual
and that is
assistant,
something we should talk about for sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
that virtual
keep
assistant
going
that
on
you
that.
have really you have made that connection with, you have a bond with, you can text at 2 o'clock in the morning if something's really an emergency.
Right.
That person, that's who you want to be your OBM, because they care about your company, they care about your success, and they're in it with you. They're a part of your team and not just somebody you pay every week.
Yeah, absolutely. You brought up something that I really want to elaborate on just a little bit. Just another thing for you guys to consider as you move into the space. And that is, I think it's a really good thing to find out how many other clients are they working with, right?
Mhm.
Um, I have run into that in the past, and it I'll tell you, especially like if you're launching or in a project that's really very time consuming, it can be challenging if that VA has a whole bunch of other clients, right?
Mhm. Yes.
So that is, it's just a good thing to find out
And you also got to look
how
for
many other
somebody
clients.
who's going to be the yin to your yang. So if,
Yeah,
excuse me, if you're super, super organized and you have everything planned out,
yeah,
90 days in advance, then, that counterpart might be a little more creative and a little more, freewheeling. Whereas if you're like very
Yeah.
freewheeling and like just, I'll just figure it out as I go and, build the airplane on the way down kind of person, you want to look for somebody who is very regimented and structured to help you get organized. So just know that also. So like when Leslie was talking about like launches and having the bandwidth, I personally only usually have 4 to 5 uh retainer clients, people that I'm booked for a certain amount of time. But I'm also, I know my fault. I am one of those people that's kind of a little freewheeling. I need to know well in advance, like what's kind of going on. So that way I can plan my time blocks around the launches going on that they're happening. Does that make sense?
It does to me. Does it make sense to everybody else? It's just a really good thing to know. Okay. I want to, let's see, I'm just going to take a peek at my notes to see if I forgot anything. So basically in terms of how many people, you start with one, right? You start with one, and then I think you start with one person, you start delegating, get used to that. I would say like getting SOPs in place is going to be extremely helpful. And I've shared this pretty openly. I learned that the hard way, which Rita could attest to.
Yes, I was on the back end of that. And just record what you're doing. A virtual assistant can just take the screen recording and type it up, step 1, step 2. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be this elaborate thing. Like if you're about to write your email for your newsletter, record yourself doing it. And then they can take it, the right virtual assistant can take it, turn it into step by step by step, and then bam, there's an SOP.
Exactly. And that's exactly what we did. So highly recommend that. So, as you start to think about getting help, getting a VA, I would prioritize, what are those tasks that really I would start with? What are the things you don't like doing, right? What are the things that you're just sick of doing? It takes too much time. It's not really in your wheelhouse, and it's preventing you from servicing your clients and or getting new clients, right? And those are the things I would prioritize. So as you're doing those tasks, just record it. And Loom, Loom, is a great little application that can help you to record your screen as you're going through your daily tasks. So highly recommend that. And so we talked about some of the things that you can easily hand off to get started. Do you have anything else you'd like to add, Rita?
I do. I want people to understand it's just like dating or hiring, in a brick and mortar business. You may not find the first one might not be a good fit. It just might not. And that's okay. Like just know that just like dating or making friends or hiring in the brick and mortar businesses, you're going to go through a couple before you get the one. But whenever you get the one, hang on to them because they're it's so valuable. You're going to free up so much of your time and your mental energy. Like you'll find like whatever you just know, like this is taken care of. It's such a big weight taken off of you that you didn't even know that you're carrying right now. You don't even realize it, how much freer you're going to feel, how you're going to show up different for your people. And you'll actually end up, that return on your investment is going to happen like that because you're so much more in the game of serving your people instead of shuffling papers or, answering emails.
Yeah. Let's go to a few questions that we have.
Sure.
So, okay. So one's a comment. One of our, someone from our audience says, I'm doing admin right now while watching this. So I multitask, and obviously that's probably not so great. Definitely agree. Would definitely take a look at what you can really delegate to someone else so that you can be fully present. Highly recommend. So, hey, Karen. So, Karen, I think this is such a good question. Karen says, I worry that I'll spend more time teaching someone the task and could have done it myself in that time. And you know what, Karen? Guess what? It's true. It's absolutely true. But that's you're kind of looking at it from a short-term perspective, right? training someone to do the task, it's an investment, right? It is an investment in your time. And in the end, it'll set you free. But short term, it is definitely, it can be a little painful, right? While that person's learning, while you're training them. But it is, I think, really important to look at the big picture and just, how, because like, it's kind of like you're on a hamster wheel. If you're always thinking, well, I'm just going to do it myself because it's going to, I can just get it done by the time I train someone else to do it.
That's a hard habit to break.
It is. It really is. It's such a great point.
And what I do, just what I recommend is whenever you run up against that, Karen, is this is literally what I do every Thursday from 9 to 11. Me and my assistant have co-working days, and she literally gets paid to watch me do what I'm doing. So that's her training. So it's like, what do I need her to learn next? I scheduled that for that Thursday morning, and she will literally watch me work and ask any questions. It's recorded. And so it is definitely a specific topic. It's recorded. Then she can go back and rewatch it anytime. But that way I'm able to get my work done. She's being trained and it's being recorded for SOP purposes.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So then it doesn't, like, you're doing the task, right? So you're actually able to check things off your list. It's not just, oh, I'm just going to train, right? I think that's a really good idea as well. And then we got a comment, once you start and are comfortable, you'll find other tasks that you can hand off. Oh, yes, you definitely will. It's just, I think it's just getting that first person on board, feeling comfortable, and trusting, right? Trusting that person, because let's face it, that is sometimes, for many of us, right? But once you dig in and start delegating, you're going to get a taste of freedom. And it is amazing. I am here to say, oh my gosh, like, I can attest to how amazing it is. I mean, seriously, like, sometimes I have to kind of pinch myself, right? Because I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I don't have to think about that. I have a team I can trust to do that. I can free up my brain space and actually go do something I enjoy instead of, it's just amazing. Or I can serve more clients, right? The key is, you as a practitioner, as a business owner, you should be focusing your time on revenue generating activities, right? And that, I think, is really one of the big takeaways from today. Revenue generating activities, whatever that is in your business. So yeah, so that it's amazing when you find that person, that team, and you're consciously able to say, yep, I don't have to think about that. Got someone else to take care of it. It's really, it's just the best feeling. So is there anything else you'd like to add, Rita?
Someone made a comment that they were nervous about hiring someone to write blog posts for them. I want you to understand that the people that you hire to write blog posts for you, if that's what they do, they know how to capture your voice. They will literally record your Facebook lives or your YouTube, whatever. They will get your phrases down. They will take your actual recordings, and it isn't them just creating blog posts out of thin air, like, oh, let me write a blog post about this. Like, they will research what's a good topic. They'll, they do their whole thing for SEO purposes, but it will be in your voice. Like, that's what they specialize in. So don't be afraid. And the same with emails. Of course, nothing is ever published without you personally, signing off on it. Right. So if you have somebody writing your emails, you're going to sign off on it. You can put in your own stuff. Even if what you get back from your person and you're like, oh, I need to do a lot of, I need to change a few things. If it saves you half the time, it's still worth it, because you already got a jump start on it. Like I write help write some of Leslie's emails. It's never the final product, but it gives her something to jump off of, and it saves her a ton of time and brain space. She's like, nope, change this, change this, change this. I want to say that, boom, ready to go. So just know that it's always going to be in your voice.
A ton of time. And one other thing, you know, because I get where the challenge is there, because you know we have practitioners here that have like a lot of very deep expertise, right? That you know probably a copywriter, unless they are also that type of practitioner, they're not going to have that area of expertise, right? So I understand that challenge. But that being said, I think there's ways to work with that or around it to save you time. You know, one thing you could do is you could make, and this is probably a topic for a whole nother Facebook Live training, right? Or even another course, kind of like the idea of repurposing your content. So, like, what you could potentially do, just a thought, you could make, you could, instead of having a blog as your anchor content, you could start by creating like a Facebook Live or an Instagram Live or a YouTube video, right? So you do the YouTube video for those of you that, you know, maybe enjoy video. And then what you can do is get that video transcribed. And then you can turn that over to a VA or a copywriter who can, you know, improve it and make it blog worthy, right? So that's just another way. If you're in a situation where you're kind of concerned about, you know, that knowledge not being quite the same. So that I've seen work really well. So yeah, let's see what other comments do we have. Yeah, and there are, good point, there are freelancers that specialize in your niche as well. So that I think could be a really good option to look for as well. All right, so okay, anything else that we want to talk about? Oh, we do have a question here. I missed this one. For my other biz, I can, let's see. How do I record patient scheduling due to HIPAA? So I think the question here is just, you know, having someone with access to patient files due to HIPAA. You probably want, my personal opinion, obviously you're going to have them sign a contract, right? And really probably you're going to want to, if it were me, I would talk to an attorney about that, in all honesty, right? When it comes to HIPAA. Okay. All right, guys, this was great. I'm just scrolling to see if we missed anything. And I think we're good to go. So guys, this I really appreciate Rita joining us today. This was such a good topic. Definitely, I think we hit a nerve in terms of people really, you know, this resonating with our audience. So we'll have to kind of put our heads together, Rita, and figure out how we can help everyone, you know, really take this to the next level, because it is such an important topic. Guys, I want you focused on revenue generating activities. That's what you should be focused on. So from my perspective, you know, from a business strategy standpoint, that is the big takeaway. I just highly recommend that you start somewhere, get someone on your team, you know, be in a position where you're just going to start to delegate, like whatever those tasks are that either you don't like doing and or the ones that are preventing you from building your business, right? Attracting clients, getting out there, talking to people. Though that's where I would start. So, all right, guys, I hope this was helpful. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day and a good weekend. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Rita.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye for now.